Yeah, these things tend to be even too good to parody. It's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, especially in relation to this story, is the fact that the school is sticking with the claim that this change of name to rename things in relation to Rashford and Seacole came from the kids. And we're talking about primary school. So the idea that primary school children had a open discussion about the rights and wrongs of JK Rowling's views on gender and mused upon it, and in between lunch and break time came up with the idea of renaming it a Marcus Rashford Hall is a little bit ridiculous. But it's indicative of the state of play of much of the culture wars, as they're called these days, in that it does end up being these really rather ridiculous things that are beyond parody, but that are symptomatic of a larger trend. There's nothing wrong with renaming a building. There's certainly nothing wrong with renaming school buildings after some very high-profile, influential, and figures that we should admire, like Marcus Rashford or indeed Mary Seacole. But what's happening here is not just an innocent, lick of paint and a change of plaque on a school building. It's part of a wider censorious mood, particularly in education as it happens, to try and whitewash out things that are difficult to talk about, or that, essentially that schools seem to be embarrassed about. So in this case, it was quite obvious that the school didn't want to have the flack from external sources of, being told off for having a building named after Churchill or Rowling, despite one being a historical figure and another being a very famous children's author. And so took what seems to be rather cowardly decision of using kids as a stage army to suggest that they have just renamed it. And, why is this a problem? Why should we care? Well, in some ways, maybe we shouldn't. But actually, this is happening across the board in relation to the whitewashing of history, or the removal of history for fear of causing offence in university buildings, in street names, in cities. And what that really displays is a kind of, I think, a fragility among a certain set of people to not be able to engage with history and have open debates about stuff, and instead try and paint it over with new names, which is a little pathetic.